Stanisci of Candid Frank Live, where you'll find us airing our views here on the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google, Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now on Candid Frank Live, joining me is Aaron William Freeland. Aaron, how you doing, bud?
Good. And yourself, Frank?
I'm visiting Eduardo. I'm doing this on his son's computer. The view here is awesome. It looks like one of the views I have at home. I think. Kind of.
It's absolutely fantastic.
Man, is it warmer in Toronto than it is in Wasaga Beach. Let me tell you. The tar, the buildings, all that stuff, boy, does it heat up the world. Oh, my God. I'm wearing a T-shirt here because I just can't take the heat. Now, we just came from being outside. He's got nice air conditioning here, so no complaints there. How about you?
Not doing too badly at all. Actually kind of liking it. The temperature that we have here is nice. It's about 25, 26 degrees. There's a nice little bit of breeze. So, can't complain at all.
Yeah, we also have to appreciate the fact that winter is coming. That's my Game of Thrones.
It's going to suck as usual.
Didn't mean to. Sometimes I tend to drag in the fans, right? No, never mind. That was terrible. Okay, let's talk about the CFL. And I guess if you want to win the Grey Cup, there's one place you got to go, and that's Winnipeg. And Winnipeg's going to be doing that this week.
Yeah, no. Now that Winnipeg is 11-1, they're currently the odds-on favorite, as they should be. They're 4-1-0 at home with a perfect 7-0 record on the road. So we'll have to see how they manage to do this weekend. I know that they're going to be playing Saskatchewan tomorrow. That'll be interesting for us here in Toronto to see. I know that Toronto's also playing against Ottawa in Ottawa. We've got Calgary facing off against the Elk. And then we've got Montreal and BC hooking up tonight. Actually, about another hour and a half.
Two teams that aren't the same teams that started the season. We've got BC playing with the quarterback, without the quarterback that has brought them so much success, and the Montreal Alouettes without an owner they had that was bragging about wins. So we'll see what the new version of those two teams looks like against each other. Both teams have a lot at stake here. I think it'd be fair to say that Montreal has more at stake because they are within shooting distance of a playoff spot in the East.
Now, there's also going to be a couple of BC Lions that are coming back to play against Montreal, so there could be a bit of a revenge factor.
Big deal. The two quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah.
Two quarterbacks. It's going to be interesting, to say the least. Let's talk a little bit about rugby here in Canada.
So this is a good thing, actually. The Canadian women have advanced in the World Rugby Sevens in Cape Town, South Africa. Canada beat China 24-5 to advance to the quarterfinals. This is the second time they've made it to the the quarterfinal round. Unfortunately, the men were bumped 19-12 in the round of 16, losing to France after beating Zimbabwe earlier in the day. So the women will go on to face the U.S. on Saturday at 4:05 Eastern, with a spot on the semis and a chance to play for a medal on the line. The men are moving into the Challenge Cup, where they'll face Uruguay on Saturday at 5:55 a.m. So that's going to be fun.
Let's talk about Major League Baseball and, of course, the Toronto Blue Jays and their bullpen. Not one with a great reputation this year has been holding up on this road trip.
They have. There's been a lot of hay made and a lot of column inches printed about how the bullpen would actually be letting us down in a lot of situations. But about a month after the August 2nd trade deadline, you're looking at a 3.16 ERA, which is good for 7th in the majors amongst all 30 franchises. They've also posted a 3.71 FIP, which is, not too shabby for a group that most people wanted to get rid of entirely. Moving Kikuchi back into the bullpen may have had a factor in that. Alek Manoah continues to be absolutely rock solid. And great performances by Sterling have helped as well.
You just noticed we're being dressed by the same person, I think. Actually, you're rocking the gray. I'm rocking the white. I think you're rocking the gray.
I am. It's Heather.
Yeah, there you go. Let's talk a little bit about the World Cup and Scotland and Portugal, referring to the Women's World Cup. Let's talk a bit about that.
Now, the really neat thing here is Friday's draw for the 9-team playoffs. Scotland paired against Austria. They were a European Championship quarterfinalists 2 months ago, with the winner advancing to host Ireland. Portugal is going to welcome Belgium, also a Euro 2022 quarterfinalist, and that winner will get to host Iceland 5 days later. So on this table, both Scotland and Portugal get to stick around at home. A little bit of home cooking will always work well for them.
Doesn't hurt.
Now, can't really be upset by that. 9 European teams have already earned their place for the July 20th to August 20th tournament. They're Denmark, England, France, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, Norway, Spain, and Sweden. And these are the playoff rounds for the final teams to get in.
Let's go over to soccer in Canada, the Whitecaps. Some news from them.
The MLS actually suspended Lucas Cavallini for 4 games from the Vancouver Whitecaps. He got a red card for stepping on an opponent's head in the 53rd minute of their 3-0 loss to Nashville back on August 27th. They said now the disciplinary committee for MLS said that was for violent conduct. Cavallini wasn't in the lineup for a 2-0 loss to San Jose last week. He's also going to miss Saturday's game against the Colorado Rapids in Colorado and 2 additional matches. He'll be eligible to return on October 1st when Vancouver is hosting Austin. Now, that being said, at the same time, the Whitecaps are pretty confident that they're still going to be in it. They still know that there's a little bit of hope. Brian White, one of their strikers, says it's still possible, but we know we need to get the results and we need to do it now. Now, Vancouver's currently 9-13-7, and they've done it before. Back in 2021, they finished the season 7-2-5 to earn a playoff spot for the first time in 4 years. So it all depends on whether or not they can get that first win against the Rapids, who are 8-12-9 in Colorado.
And still in MLS in Toronto, Toronto FC's Lorenzo Insigne missed practice.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of hay made on it. Toronto FC soccer Twitter has gone absolutely nuts about speculation. But it was, according to the team, a personal family situation. Domenico Crescido was also absent to support Insigne and his family. No other details have been released at this time. Toronto, who are 9-14-7, are going to be playing Atlanta, who are 8-12-9 on Saturday, with both teams currently on the wrong side of the playoff line with time and games running out. Now, Bernardeschi was also not involved in a portion of training open to media on Thursday. Bob Bradley said that he was actually working inside without actually elaborating on that. Now, this is related to a medical issue involving Insigne's family that actually occurred previously in early August. But as to whether the rest of the information, they're not really sure what's going on. They haven't released any additional information.
Josef Martinez of the Atlanta United team is in trouble, and he might not be able to play, to the benefit of Toronto FC, or have them up next.
Yeah, all of this is a little coincidental, but also kind of neat, the way that all of this is actually dovetailing. He has been suspended for 1 game for conduct detrimental to the team. The club didn't detail the misbehaviors, but it is said, and it has been rumored, that he was involved in a locker room altercation with coach Gonzalo Pineda following Sunday's 2-1 loss to Portland. Martinez was one of the scorers for Atlanta.
Let's talk about the WNBA, and the playoffs are going on.
So, as it stands, Chelsea Gray powered the Las Vegas Aces to the WNBA Finals. Connecticut Storm's Sue Bird is going to be retiring at this point. It was a well-fought series. It was Game 4 of the semifinals at Climate Pledge, and they came out on top. Chelsea Gray's 31 points helped them win 97-92. Now, going on the other side of that, the Connecticut Sun ousted the Chicago Sky. So that's the defending champions are gone. That game, that series will actually start this weekend.
Beautiful. In the NFL, the Buffalo Bills took on the Rams, and they gave it to them. That's for sure.
Oh, this was one of those games where you sat there and just sort of shook your head. Josh Allen went 26 of 31 for 297 yards, and they beat the defending Super Bowl champs by a score 31-10.
Yeah, they looked good, but meaningless game. It's just warm up time. It doesn't really matter. Oh boy, season hasn't even started in the NHL, and all I have to say is 2 words: John Tortorella. And the excitement is getting more intense.
Torts is always shot from the hip, so this really shouldn't come as a surprise. But Chuck Fletcher brought him in an attempt to try to rehabilitate and reform what's been going on in Philly. Anybody who follows the NHL knows that they've had issues the past few years with the doings of transpiring and the shenanigans in the dressing room and whatnot. So they're hoping that Torts can address that. Kind of damning what he had to say. He said, I have major concerns about the room. You can't get squat done on the ice until you get your room straightened out. We think we've got a little bit of work to do there. So
they got the right guy to pick up the problems, at least identify them. He'll find them. We'll just see if he can solve them.
He may only be able to highlight them. He may not necessarily be able to solve them.
He could be part of the problem before you know it. He is so much fun for people like us to follow the game. John Tortorella, he's so serious. He becomes a cartoon. He's a cartoon character. Not because I'm not trying to make fun of him, but I'm saying because he's so serious. And not that you shouldn't be serious when it comes to sports, and not that the players need levity, but the players need to understand between the buzzer, and they can't maintain the kind of intensity I think that John Tortorella, hopefully he'll step back a little bit. They can't maintain it from buzzer to the next buzzer. There has to be a moment to pause, to refresh, to recharge, and if there's always stuff going on in the newspaper, comments like that, he's saying there's a problem in the room. Well, gosh, no kidding, because there's one now. He just said there's a problem in the room.
I don't think he was referring to himself as the problem.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, the point I'm trying to make is that I get what he's saying. Sometimes the message does as much damage as, sometimes increases the damage or the problem as opposed. So we'll see. He's the kind of guy that makes people's heads snap, and hopefully when their heads snap, it'll snap into a position where they go, you know what? Let's just see how this guy works. Let's give him a chance. Let's see what he has to say. Let's see how it works under him and go from there. The guy's a winner. He's been a winner. He's a great coach. He's a great tactician. And unfortunately, there's the side issues. There's the stuff that happens after the whistle. And there's a problem whenever there's a stand-up with the reporters, because he does tend to not like criticism, and he has a long memory. So, I don't know how long I'd last there if I was asking questions, because, it's just going to be one of those situations that the Flyers have tried everything. And we've talked for the last 5 minutes about the Flyers, and we didn't mention the real problem. The problem with them has been the same problem for 30 years. Goaltending.
And the problem here, though, is that Chuck really hasn't done anything to try to turn this team around. The Flyers are a team that's currently in need of being stripped down to the studs and completely rebuilt. What he's doing is he's kind of putting up a new mirror in the bathroom and a couple new lampshades and saying, hey, we're good. The problem is the foundations underlying everything.
About goaltending. Aaron, it's all about goaltending. And I think we all know that every every NHL team that doesn't have great goaltending has an issue they have to deal with, and it means that you have to be stronger in another area. So you got to be a big offensive team, or you've got to be really good at defense. So, you know, I think he's a great coach. I think if the players respect him, at least give him a shot and don't go on his reputation, I think the Flyers can be better, because under him they will be a little more disciplined and definitely thinking about the game. Because if they're not, they'll be up in the press box, you know, where you used to keep stats.
I think the real issue that they've got here, again, and you mentioned this a couple times already, the only goalie that they really have of any note is Carter Hart.
Yeah, and you know what? That guy has a great ability. He came to the team, he looked fantastic, but you know, I think sometimes the fans can be a little unfair. We've seen it here in Toronto with the goaltenders here sometimes, right? And players for that matter. In Philly, it's in hyperdrive. It's a lot worse. For any of you that follow the Leafs and go, "Oh, Leaf fans are too critical." Oh boy, you should go sit in the stands in Philadelphia. You'll get an understanding of what critical really means.
Well, I mean, he is a .905 goalie, but he didn't look like it at times, man.
I used to live in the 905 area. He might be wanting to make a phone call. I don't know. Well, good luck for him. I think he's a great goaltender. He's somebody that is just a kid who needs a chance to be successful. Speaking of successful, there's a guy named Kane, and we all know he's able to score in Chicago. That there's a lot of talk that he may be moved. That's a pretty big contract. Even the Leafs have been spoken about as far as joining him, or he joining them.
Yeah, you know, there are several different destinations for him. All of them are, I think, exciting. One of the possible destinations that's been listed for him is the Edmonton Oilers. That would just put them into a completely different stratosphere at that point. You've got McDavid, you've got Draisaitl, you'd add in Kane, you've got Dylan Holloway, you've got prospect Xavier Bourgault. You know, all of these guys, adding them in, not to mention Tyson Berry.
The other Kane?
The other Kane? Kane and Kane, it sounds like a law firm, doesn't it?
Oh, hey, listen, man. They've got so much talent, and if they got this guy, I don't know what they'd have to give up, and I don't know what contract they'd have to tear up, but I'm sure a couple of those things have to happen for him to end up there. Or Chicago's going to eat what? How much of the salary is Chicago going to eat? I mean, there's talk they're going to eat a lot of the salary, whoever wants them.
Well, I mean, you could potentially end up with a 3-team trade with both Chicago and the other team retaining. Another possibility that people have talked about is the New York Rangers. I'd like to see how Kane would slot in there with Alexis Lafreniere and Keandre Miller. That could be something interesting, especially with the way that Shesterkin has been playing recently. That is definitely something that would be an eye-opener. Another possibility that's been bandied about is the Los Angeles Kings. Now, the Kings are currently still rebuilding. They're almost done that, but they've also got a bunch of expiring assets and people that are, you know, potentially UFAs or also close to retiring. So this is one of those last kick at the cans, go for it now team. I would love to see Kane suit up next to Austin Matthews. Let's be honest, that would be kind of cool. With his setup ability and Austin Matthews' penchant for finishing, that would, though, kind of leave Mitch Marner floating somewhere, probably back with Tavares, which was very profitable for the Leafs, to say the least. But, you know, I think that could potentially work. The other couple locations that I can see him possibly going would be the Carolina Hurricanes, who I believe just signed Joe Thornton as well. So there's that to consider, as well as the Vegas Golden Knights, where, you know, he could be paired up with Jack Eichel, which would be that would be something to see too.
Yeah, there's a lot of places he could go that would make things really interesting. Next, in case you're driving down a street in London and you look over, carefully keep your eyes on the road, eh? You look over and you see Cadre Surgical Center.
Yeah,
what?
So he's pulling a PK Subban.
Yeah, I was going to say he's not changing. He's not changing vocations, right? He's not going into sector. No. Okay.
No, but basically, I mean, he has contributed $1 million to a surgical center at the London Health Services Centre's Ambulatory Surgical Center, which has been renamed the Nazem Kadri Surgical Center in his honor. So, I mean, he's got a history of donating to these sorts of things. The same surgical facility also got a donation from the Nazem Kadri Foundation before it opened back in 2020. That particular facility is also across the street from Victorial Hospital. So it's one of those things where Nazem has a history of giving back, and I'm glad to see that it's continuing.
So apparently, there's a Pfizer vaccine that's been approved. If we can move to the news, for 6-month-old to, what does it say here? 4-year-olds.
Yes. After a thorough and independent scientific review of the evidence, the Health Canada has actually concluded that the benefits of the Pfizer-BioNTech Comirnaty vaccine, what a mouthful, outweighs the potential risks. It's the second vaccine to be approved for that age group. Health Canada approved Moderna's Spikevax shot back in July. So it's a 3-dose primary series of the vaccine for children under 5, with 3 weeks between the first and second doses and 8 weeks between the second and third doses. So like a lot of adults, they'll be able to get their first 2 shots and then a booster. Now, these, not to be confused with anything else, these jabs target the original strain of COVID-19 and do remain effective at preventing severe illness, hospitalization, and death. The government also recently approved a newer version of Moderna's vaccine that targets the Omicron variant, but that hasn't been approved for the youngest group yet.
Let's look at the Liberals' cost of living plan. They were ready to announce it, and they didn't want to be crowded by the big news, of course, with Queen Elizabeth passing away yesterday. So they're holding off on that for a little while.
Yeah, well, now they were, of course, kind enough to release some of the details to most of the major news outlets in advance of that happening. What we can tell you is that there are new measures to help with the rising cost of living. That's going to be a temporary doubling of the GST rebate checks. For those of you who are eligible to receive them, that is a really, really good thing. I know it's helped me out when I needed the money before, too. They're also increasing aid to help low-income Canadians pay their rent and launch the first part of a national dental care plan. They're also discussing how to release this and the best mode of implementation during a 3-day cabinet retreat, which ends Thursday night. Well, it ended Thursday night as they're preparing for the fall sitting of Parliament. So now, the dental care program will allow parents of children under the age of 12 to apply for a $650 payment to cover dental expenses this year and again next year, while a more formalized program is going to be developed. The rental allowance will include a $500 one-time top-up to the Canadian housing benefit, and they budgeted $300 million for dental care in this current 2022 fiscal year and $475 million for the housing allowance. So those are good steps forward. And the other thing that we're looking at here is increase the Gst Pay. The current benefit is up to $467 a year for a single individual and $612 for married or common law couples, and with another $161 for children under 19 years old. Those payments are going to be indexed to inflation, which means for GSTs and most other federal benefits, that's going to jump by 2.4 to 2.5% next year.
Perfect. Also, because of the Queen's passing, the Conservative leader will not be discovered for a little while yet. They're adjusting the Conservatives based on not wanting to get in the way of the news of the Queen.
Yeah, because we've entered an official period of mourning as part of Operation London Bridge and part of Operation Unicorn. The party had actually been planning to do to announce their new leader at an event in Ottawa on Saturday, but the chair of the party's leadership election organization committee said that we are going to respect the protocols surrounding Her Majesty's death. They are considering an appropriate and respectful way to announce the race results, and will provide an update, or we're supposed to have provided an update early today. I did try to keep my ear out for that, but I didn't actually happen to see anything. So hopefully we'll have a little additional information as to that before the end of the show.
A new question that's come up is bills and coins here in Canada. you know, I'm accustomed to seeing the Queen on the $20 bill, and maybe this is an opportunity to pay respect to our Aboriginal friends and family. You know, I mean, we're not really part of the Commonwealth anymore. I don't, you know, not that I don't want to see Charles every day on the $20 bill. I mean, you know, maybe, you know, I'd suggest Diana, but that would sound like a shot, so I won't suggest that.
Well, you know, there is no actual requirement to remove her from our currency as it currently stands. I don't know if we will see King Charles III. I mean, she's only on the 20, so you know, it's not really necessary. Plus, the fact that we now have plastic money means that it's going to all of our bills are going to be around for at least another decade.
Yeah.
So
no, I just think, you know, we've basically officially left the Commonwealth, right? So, you know,
yeah, I mean, the only reason we stuck with her is because she's been there for so long.
I think it's because of her, because of the Queen. I mean,
yeah,
she was such a wonderful person. You know, like, look, they refer to her as being in service. I think that's a bit of a leap. You know, I don't think of someone who gets $25 million from the Canadian government every year. I don't know if you call what they're doing service, but I would say that what she's done is she's represented the crown beautifully. She's done a great job of that. She's been an awesome person who has only brought, you know, respect and really she's done a great job for England because in Britain, because she's half the government there. You know, she's the conscience. You know, the government, the House of Commons there, that's the mechanics of their system. She represents the heart of their politics. I don't know that she represents the heart of ours. That's all I'm saying. There's a difference. You know what I'm saying?
No, I can certainly understand that. I did actually stumble across some additional information which was posted just a while back, recently. Sorry, the Conservatives are planning on attending. Are planning on going ahead with the program, but there won't be confetti, and they've asked people to wear black. There will also be a brief video introspective of the Queen and her rule.
I mean, they're just trying to show it. People are a little concerned about being politically incorrect.
Yeah,
they don't want to get criticized. Nobody wants to get criticized. Like I said, that normally a person in my position wouldn't have said what I said, but I don't think what I'm saying is that bad, and I don't think picking a leader is that bad. I can understand being celebratory might be kind of in the face of what just happened. I can understand that too. So they have 10 days of mourning in Great Britain, and then I think her funeral's in 10 days. Well, 9 now.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So look, great woman. 70 years that she served or was the Queen and was there as a person who represented Great Britain and the Commonwealth for as long as the Commonwealth was a factor. Just think about it. When she became Queen, I think they said 1/3 of the population of the world was under Great Britain's rule. 1/3. So that's what she came into, and she was born, you know, before the war, and she was. I heard some of her speeches when she was a child, 14 years old. Aaron, the lady had it together. You know, she really understood responsibility. And I don't care how many times you teach a kid to say something. It's not about teaching them the words. It's about the way she spoke. You could tell it came from her heart, and she was trying to be, you know, something special, which she was. 70 years says that's what she is. And I wouldn't mind if they kept her picture on our money for another year. I think they should stop using it after a year. If their intention is to take it off, they should take it off on the anniversary of it, the day after the anniversary of her death.
That probably would be the way to go with that, Frank.
Right? And let's
I think it's an appropriate period of mourning. So
yeah, and I have nothing but respect for her. You know, I'm not a monarchist by any stretch, but as a person, I respect her and what she did. And we were lucky to have her as the Queen. Could have been somebody else with a different attitude. So thank goodness for her. All right. So still talking about here in Canada. Apparently there's new rules of compensating air passengers, and they're going to take effect. Aaron, tell us about them.
So updated guidelines here were changed after the initial introduction of the air passenger protection regulations, which outlined how airlines had to communicate and reimburse or compensate travelers for everything from delayed flights to damaged luggage. Now, these updated guidelines are an attempt to close a loophole that left some passengers stranded or unable to secure cash refunds after pandemic-related flight delays and cancellations. Now, under the new rules, which came in yesterday, airlines will be required to issue a full refund for cancellations and delays if passengers are not placed on a new flight within 48 hours, including for reasons outside of the airline's control. So that includes crew shortages, that includes inclement weather, that includes a new government lockdown. So, you know, let's be honest here. Canada is lagging behind other countries. If you look at the United States, if you look at Turkey, if you look at other European countries, all airlines must refund the passengers no matter the reason. Canada is one of those few where you have a 48-hour grace period, and that sort of, pardon my French, happy crappy. You know, there were individuals who at the start of the pandemic got stranded. One lady got stranded an additional 3 days trying to get back from Francis Charles de Gaulle, but ended up in Gander, still 1,700 kilometers away from her home destination in Montreal. You know, this is one of those things that's designed to protect individuals. This individual still hasn't received compensation for the rescheduling, the hotels, and the additional travel expenses. So this is something that the bill is designed to help protect us from.
Bottom line, if the flight's canceled because of the airline, their employees, or anything to do with them, there's no doubt that they should be on the hook. We can start talking about the government does it. Like, you know, I'm just saying, I'm starting there. I'm not finishing there. I'm starting there. So there shouldn't be any doubt about that. We can negotiate the rest, and they should be forced to negotiate the rest. You know, we're seeing a lot of news from the United States, and a lot of it has to do with the judicial system there, the Supreme Court of the United States. In Canada, there's a justice here that's saying, you know, maybe we should go for more transparency for the good of, you know, keeping, you know, the justice system here held to high account in the minds of Canadians.
Yeah. Now, and this is a statement coming from Chief Justice Richard Wagner. He's currently on a media tour ahead of 2 Supreme Court hearings next week in Quebec City. This is only the second time in the High Court's history that it's hearing cases outside of Ottawa. The last time this happened, the court had held hearings in Winnipeg in 2019. He said, I think you have to be transparent. I think that for judges, for instance, we have to try to release decisions in clearly accessible language to be transparent. That's one way to not only increase, but support trust in the justice system. If people understand how the court works, they won't be so concerned that it's too deferential to government or that individual judges are indebted to politicians who appoint them. People will only keep their faith in institutions, you know, if they are shown that it's you know, above board and 100% transparent. So,
in other words, give rhyme or reason for their decision. You know, the best they can in a short.
Most definitely.
Yeah, that gives people an indication, at least an opportunity to understand, you know, what's going on. And the beauty of that is, you know, Aaron, it isn't the first decision; it's the next decision that is basically the same kind of idea. Then they can be held to account in regards to being consistent. If there's no you know, no basic groundwork done, then you really don't know where they're headed. And I understand what he's trying to say. And I got to tell you, we watch it in the United States where we're getting the kind of decisions that are made that don't reflect the people of the United States. And it begins to look like, you know, the Supreme Court is telling people, you know, denying them the right to self-determination, because that's what we're talking about here, right? People shouldn't be told what to do, how to live. They should only be guided legally what they're entitled to do as far as interaction is concerned with others, right? But when you start telling everybody they can't do this, and they can do that. Then now you're just basically guiding. You're not guiding people anymore. You're telling them what to do, and that's sad.
Now, there is something that I did actually enjoy greatly over the course of the pandemic, and that was expanded access to Zoom calls for court hearings.
Yeah.
One of the court proceedings that I was actually following with a great deal of interest was the case of a Mississauga gentleman by the name of Kevin J. Johnston, whose most of his proceedings, when it came to his contempt of court and defamation trial, was actually available for individuals to watch on YouTube and through your web browser. So it was a great way to follow the proceedings for that and get a better idea of how the justice system actually works and see through any spin that could potentially have been coming out of that particular set of hearings. So I, for one, am grateful that they've done this sort of thing.
Well, let's keep in mind that with the legal system, what we're learning is that judges can take interpretation and not be consistent with what the intent of the the law is, and basically head for just an interpretation. And unless you know what the law is, unless you see the evidence, if you will, like you're talking about, it's interesting because you get to see how it works and how the law is meted out. We all want to know, if someday we're in that position, that we'll be treated fairly. And there's the concern is that if you don't understand the legal system, is it respected? Can it be respected if it's not understood?
Yeah, and in this particular case here, I am not upset with the fact that you get to see how the sausage is made. I think it's very important for individuals to see that.
As long as they're not making too many sausages,
wow.
because it can get really crazy, because that's the issue. Consistency in the legal system is only dependent on each judge and their relationship with each other and the law. So, it is what it is anyway. Alberta UCP leadership candidates unite to raise alarm over the Alberta sovereignty bill.
So this is, I don't know if you've heard anything about this, but there is a candidate by the name of Danielle Smith who has proposed an Alberta Sovereignty Act. Now they're calling it, the other people in the membership race are calling this exploitation of latent anti-Ottawa anger and a backdoor separation bid that cannot succeed and would instead further inflame and divide the UCP and the province. Now, Leela Ayer, who recently had her account hacked, said the consequences will be that Smith will have a caucus that will be standing up against the leader. If Danielle Smith wins the race, I plan to stay on and fight it. If I win the race, then I know that Danielle and her faction will be set against me. This could cause extreme divisions within the UCP caucus. It feeds on anger, but accomplishes absolutely nothing because there's no pathway except through negotiations and the Constitution being open. And it's great that she's trying to win the party this way, I suppose, but at the same time, when she can't deliver exactly what's going to happen. So that's the issue that we're looking at here. And every time they press Danielle for details on this, she hasn't been able to say what it's about.
At its root, Aaron, you hinted at it. I don't have to say much here because you said it right. It's dependent on what she says, and what she means, and the other side, what they say and what they mean, and what does it mean to. Is there a pathway to agreement? That's the biggest problem. Is that what you're highlighting is that we need to find a pathway to agreement whenever we have splits in thinking, and it's too bad if they can't work it out. They've got to find the similarities and key on those, I guess. So the mayor of Jasper says the wildfire is affecting electrical and saying to visitors visitors who are planning on coming, don't come. It's not the place you want to be right now.
I mean, Mayor Richard Ireland has said restoration of electricity through temporary generators has been rife with technical problems. And the Chetamon Mountain fire, which is about 15 kilometers away from Jasper, has made the situation precarious. ATCO is currently assessing the extent of the damage to its overhead transmission lines. but they are saying that repairs could potentially take several weeks. The wastewater plant is currently operating on its own backup generator in order to ensure power is available for residents. But the problem that they're running into is that, I mean, they did manage to restore power overnight to more than 2/3, but another outage occurred a few hours later due to the challenge of integrating generator power into a transmission system. It's not exactly backwards compatible or plug and play when it comes to this sort of thing. So the problem is they're having a lot of closures with campgrounds and with hotels and larger buildings.
There is here in Ontario a concern with family doctors exiting the system because primary care is becoming such a challenge that it's affecting emergency room, health.
Now, a strong primary care system, as we all know, is one of the cornerstones of healthcare. It helps keep patients away from ERs and plays a huge role in encouraging self-management of illness as well as preventing the spread of disease. The problem that we've got here is, yes, there are increasingly a lot of challenges when it comes to family medicine. A lot of family physicians are dealing with burnout because of ever-increasing workloads, unrealistic patient demands, and lack of respect from other specialties. So it's driving a lot of doctors to leave. The unfortunate thing is that supply is also decreasing. There's a lot of fewer people going through medical school because the prices are going up. And the other issue that they're running into is residency applications through the Canadian Resident Matching Service is also down significantly. So they're unable to process doctors through, which puts additional strain on the already existing doctors, which leads to more burnout, and you get the idea.
So Lisa LaFlamme decides not to dye her hair. She ends up with gray hair. There's inferences that Bell Media fired her because of the gray hair, and or there was an issue with some investigative reporting that was kind of fumbled a little bit. There's all these stories with the Lisa LaFlamme thing. Now what we hear is City News, and that would be City TV News, is hiring her, and she's going to England to cover the Queen's passing and the events surrounding, up until, I assume, and including the funeral. So she's getting to do that. What a great coup for them. But I mean, it's just such a convenient thing for Rogers to do, considering Bell were the previous boss for her.
I'm just saying, if you make an opportunity for your competitor, they'd be fools not to take
it. Yep, she's going right to the coronation of Charles, is what Eduardo's saying.
Basically,
yeah. So they gave her a plum, and you know what, she deserves it. What she's been through to be let go on the terms that she was let go, with no clear reason other than we made a decision. That's all we know, right? We can speculate, we can hear reports, Aaron, but at the end of the day, she was let go. She ends up gone. She's one who's respected, and that's the thing about these news anchors that we remember, in my lifetime, and I'm old, there's only 2 or 3 news anchors that I know of that kind of reputation, right? So when she goes, it's a big deal. Not like the Queen passing away, but kind of along the same lines.
No, and it's easy to see that there's at least a month to 2 months worth of headlines that have been generated by this event, as tragic and as sad as it is for some folks. But this is a great public relations coup for Rogers.
You took the words right out of it. Just PR was in my head, and I wanted to say, you beat me to it, dude. Go ahead.
But it's a great public relations coup for Rogers. They're getting a top flight reporter. She'll have continued employment out of this and a chance to perhaps turn it into something better. So, we
respect gray-haired women. We respect gray-haired women. I'm not laughing at it. Just it's so obvious, right? It's such a clever move. You're right. But she deserves it, so you can't blame Rogers for doing it, really. So.
No, not the slightest.
where do you go? So they did the right thing. It was smart on their part. I think it's a great idea for them. So good luck to La Flamme, and hopefully we'll see a lot of great stories coming out of Great Britain. Also, you wanted to talk about the Proud Boys Hawaii leader. Is he okay? Is everything fine with him, or what? Is he all right?
Well, yeah. Nick Oakes, founder of the Proud Boys Hawaii chapter and a one-time Republican state house candidate, as well as Nick DiCarlo from Fort Worth, Texas, both admitted to obstructing the congressional certification of President Biden's Electoral College victory. They share a social media channel called Murder the Media and initially claimed to be working as journalists on January 6th, according to the government. They were part of a group that had originally stormed the Capitol back on January 6th and posed for a picture in front of a door on which one of them had a Murder the Media sign. They both pled guilty Friday in federal court to a felony charge in connection with the riot. Federal guidelines for Oakes and DiCarlo call for sentences between 3.5 to 4 years behind bars, although the judge can decide to go above or below that in exchange for pleading guilty and turning state's evidence on other individuals. Now, prosecutors did agree to dismiss several other charges against them, but they are going to be held in custody until sentenced in October. So this is good to see. I'm glad to see that there are some solid repercussions that are coming out of this. We'll see what other dominoes fall at this point, because I'm pretty sure they weren't the only ones who were there.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that's happened. A lot of people have done some pretty bad things, and quite a few of them have gotten away with stuff. We know that what happened that day was wrong. We know what happened that day led to some people dying, especially police officers. And let's not forget that woman that was trying to climb through the window. Not a good idea, and she ended up losing her life because of that. I know how there's some people that want to point at the officer that shot her, but I'm going to point at the people that told them to go there. And knowing what we know now, that the people who told her to go there knew the reason they were going there was not true. And that's the irresponsible thing here that people miss out on. And that's what I want to talk about, is people who lie to rile up people should go to jail because they're guilty of doing that. That's not what we should be doing. We can't have a society that allows people to lie, to generate hate and generate unsafe environments, which the Capitol was that day. It was an unsafe. It wasn't a party. I saw the pictures. I saw the video. I know what it really looked like. So something has to be done about people who do that kind of stuff, who promote it. They need to pay a price because it cannot happen again. Nobody can agree with with that, right?
No, the issue really here is proving that. I mean, there are other individuals from the Oath Keepers that have been charged with seditionist treason and charges of seditionist conspiracy, along with other members of the Proud Boys. There have been over 870 people that have been charged. Nearly 400 of them have pled guilty. I mean, what we're seeing here is what's called stochastic terrorism. Stochastic terrorism is the public demonization of a person or group, which results in the incitement of a violent act, which is statistically probable, but whose exact specifics can't quite be predicted. So by saying they're stealing the election with no actual proof, and they're, all these other, like Democrats are running children through the basement in a sex slave ring of a one-story pizza store, that sort of thing. You're encouraging violent acts, but not outright calling for violent acts. Except when you say, well, we're going to march to the Capitol to stop the steal, which was,
Regardless, the people who stepped into the Capitol, who broke windows to get in and were in the Capitol at the time that they were in the Capitol, caused government to pause, the transition of government to pause. That's the definition of seditious behavior. They stopped the government from doing what it's empowered and what it's supposed to do. And that's the Constitution. That's the will of the people. And they decided to stop the will. So anybody who was in there, they should go to jail for a long time. Because, Aaron, we can't go into a government building, break a window and go in. And it's bad enough go in. You know, that's trespass, right? That's a crime on its own. But to stop, you end up, the result of you going in there is to stop the transition of power. You know, it's just crazy. It's part of the Constitution. And those people should go to jail, period. It's like the same complicated interpretation that shouldn't be complicated. It's very simple. If Donald Trump carried classified information up to the, and as the rules stipulate, he can't even bring it up into the White House. He has to call for the documentation. It comes, it's brought to him, it's in a briefcase, and he looks at it, and then he, you know, ships it back. That's the way it's supposed to be. To actually have it up in his private quarters in the White House is illegal. To bring it off site, to bring it to another state, to put it in a club, you know, and place it beside the umbrellas and the extra folding chairs, all this stuff, that there are people who are going to die if this information gets out. I think the problem with dealing with Trump for people is that he's so audacious, and what he does is so far into the stupid that people say, come on, a guy can't be doing something that stupid and mean to do it, right? Because he gets away with doing stupid stuff. I was going to use a different word, but he gets away with doing stupid stuff, and people say he's a dummy. We all know he's a dummy. He didn't realize that's just Donald doing that. What the heck? What are you worried about? It's simple, you know, it's just a library book situation, right? He just forgot to bring his library book back. No, he took the library book without telling anybody. He kept it, and then people found it. It's not about a library book. He stole something, kept it, then got caught, and then they said, give us the stuff back or you're going to get in trouble. And he went, okay, I gave it all back to you. But he didn't. You know, how does this guy not go to jail? How does he not go to jail, Aaron? How does he not? I don't get it.
And again, you know, you're kind of wishing for a little more transparency in the justice system here to figure out how.
See, that's what that judge said. What that judge said here in Canada is a reflection of what they're seeing in the United States. It truly is. And here in Canada, we do a lot of things not because we have a problem, because you have a problem, America, and we're trying to deal with it. The Prime Minister of Canada outlawed guns that are made to kill people on a battlefield, not after a Canadian used one, but after an American used one. That's who we are here. We watch the Americans and go, okay, let's see, what are they doing wrong? Well, let's do this instead. You know, so I mean, look at Australia. Look at Australia, what they did. You know, they decided to outlaw them, right? And they haven't had that many problems. But Aaron, we had two guys go around, one or two guys, I don't know all the facts yet, but they stabbed 10 people to death, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if they could have got an assault rifle.
The mind boggles. It's something,
you know what I mean? If they had their hands
on
an assault rifle instead.
Yeah.
That kind of anger. I mean, you know, that's that kind of anger where you're just, you know, that kind of anger where you kill somebody and you're going right at them, like you're looking them in the eye. You know, that's a special kind of criminal. And, you know, I hope he never sees the light of day. I don't know if it's something that can be fixed.
You can rest assured he will not be seeing the light of day. He passed away in custody.
Yeah, there you go.
So.
That's it. That's right. And that was a weird explanation as well. Thank you for reminding me of that. Aaron, thanks for this.
No, I appreciate that, Frank. We can actually cover this. We can actually cover this on Monday if you'd like.
Yeah, I'm Candid
All
Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank Live. Aaron, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer here on SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Ciao for now, everybody. Enjoy your weekend.